What's going on, YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very special video. This is not going to be a knife review. It's more so just going to be an overview of a knife that's very, very special to me. And the reason is because, as the thumbnail and title of the video suggests, this is my very first pocket knife. And I've been wanting to do this video for a while, and I think I can never remember, a lot of times I get the ideas for my videos from other YouTubers' channels, and I'm like, oh, that'd be a good idea, and then I kind of log it away. And I'm pretty sure I got this idea from Nick Shabazz because I saw that he either has done or is about to do a video of his first pocket knife ever. And I thought, you know what, I think I know where that thing is. So I had to go back, the next time I went back to my hometown and went back to my parents' house, I dug around in some old drawers in my room, and sure enough, here it was, exactly the same as I remember it. So this is my very, very first pocket knife. Now, this knife originally belonged to my grandpa, who gave it to my dad, who gave it to me. Now, that sounds like, oh, wow, what a perfect story. He makes it sound so cool. His grandpa had it, and then he gave it to his dad, and that is legitimately how I acquired this knife. That's just where it came from. This is a Camillus. You can see there, it says Camillus, New York, model 70. You can also see here the backside scale is gone. Now, my dad said he remembers seeing this knife in what we would call, I guess, a valet tray. He said my grandpa had this like tray that he dumped all his crap in at the end of the day on his dresser. And we a lot of us use. I've got one in my room. I just dump everything that's in my pockets, all that stuff that I did on the EDC carry video. That all comes out and it goes into this tray. And my dad said he always remembers being a kid and seeing this knife on my grandpa's valet tray. Now, I had to confirm. My dad was born in the I think he was born in the mid-50s. So I had to confirm. I was like, now wait a sec. Let's make sure that this knife was actually made when he says it's made, because he may be remembering a different pocket knife. So I looked this up, and this particular one was supposedly made between 1946 and 1953. I don't know. Those of you who are like really, really knowledgeable on Camillus knives and the history of Camillus knives, the Camillus Model 70, I guess, is what this is called. You'll be able to tell me whether or not it was this actual knife, that my dad is remembering, if it's actually that old. There is a possibility that my grandpa had this knife, but then, got it later, and it's not as old as I think it is. It certainly looks old. I like to believe my grandpa had it, then my dad, then me. Anyways, what's interesting about it is it's got, it's clearly there's a heavy patina on it. It's got a chip out of the tip. It's all darkened up. It looks very old and very used, and it thoroughly is. But what's cool is it's got a long pull on it. And I did not notice that until I started getting into slip joints. It's not a nail nick, it's a long pull. So that's really cool. The knife just barely still comes out of there. I will say that these two still work pretty well. There's still a snap, at least when they come down. But this main guy here is pretty grindy, and he doesn't want to clip into place quite as readily. Here's a look at the other one. This knife was not maintained by me, probably not by my dad. The blades are all dull. And this thing was used for everything. In fact, it was used for a lot of stuff that I was not supposed to use it for. Let me tell you a story about how I acquired this. So I was playing over at my grandma's house one day, and I was much younger. I must have been 7 or 8. When we went to grandma's house, we always had, she always give us Kit Kat bars. My brother will laugh if he's watching this video. We would eat. The first thing we'd do is we'd walk by this tray in her kitchen. It was on an island. The tray was too high for us to reach, but we knew that there were Kit Kat bars in there. So we'd walk by, and she'd give us a Kit Kat bar, and we'd immediately go back to what I think was my dad's old bedroom, and we would jump on his old bed because she'd let us. Grandma let us do whatever we wanted, so that was great. And in the closet was a bunch of my dad's old clothes and jackets and stuff that nobody ever got rid of. He also had a bunch of old toy firearms that back then they looked real. They didn't have the orange caps on them, so we loved those. And there were just boxes full of stuff in his closet that nobody ever got rid of. And we always dig around in there. And I think there was more than one pocket knife, but this is the very first pocket knife that I can remember picking up. And I remember it being in a box with a bunch of other stuff. And I knew what it was, I guess, just from seeing pictures or seeing them. But this is the first pocket knife that I think I'd ever picked up and handled. It was just laying there in a box. I think it was like a shoe box or something full of a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, wow, and my brother was like 4, I think, at the time. And I ran back out to find my grandma because she wasn't watching us. She was just watching TV. So I remember being like, can I have this? This is so cool. And she said, sure, no problem. You can have that. So I'm playing with this thing and I'm like, it's so cool. I can cut anything with it. And I remember being outside and I'm kind of like stabbing it into the tree. And I remember it trying to fold up on me and me, that was me learning about how this was a slip joint folding knife and there was no lock. I mean, I didn't know it was a slip joint, but I loved that there were all these different blades, and I loved. I thought it was. I was like, look how big that blade is. It's huge in this this tiny little thing. But I just love this. And my dad came and picked us up, and I said, look what Grandma gave me. And he was like, that's. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said, yeah, that was my old pocket knife, and I think it was your grandpa's old pocket knife, but I don't think I want you to have it. And so I was so bummed. I was so bummed out that I couldn't have this pocket knife. And I argued with him and I was like, please, please. And so then, of course, he sets up some sort of incentive thing. And he's like, if you do all your chores and mow the yard and do everything we ask for you, maybe you can have it. Well, he had gone ahead and put it in his pocket. I didn't realize this. He had put it in his pocket and put it in his work desk at home. And I guess, if I remember correctly, he didn't actually give me the knife. He waited for me to forget about it. And he didn't actually give me this knife until like a year and a half later. I remember being 8 or 9 years old, I think, when he actually gave me this pocket knife. And I had forgotten that it existed. And I was so happy. And he said, I think you've earned this now. I think you can have it. And I remember him telling me, he said, this is not something you bring to school. This is not something that you use on another person. This is a tool. And that was the very first. I've always I've kept that line of thinking with me all these years. Pocket knives are tools; they are not weapons. And I'm really glad he told me that. Now, the problem is that the very first thing that I did, we had moved into another house while we were building. We had moved into a smaller house while my dad was building our new house. And I remember the swing set in the backyard. He had just bought a new refrigerator, I think either for the basement in that house or for the new house. And I said, can I have the cardboard box? And he said, sure. And I took that cardboard box outside, set it up against the swing set because it was windy that day. And I started taking this pocket knife and throwing it and trying to get it to stick in the cardboard. I did that for probably 45 minutes before he came out in the backyard and was like, give me that knife back. That is not what you are supposed to be using that knife for. And I was once again saddened beyond all belief that my pocket knife had been taken away. I think in some weird way, the combination of being told that I was not ready to have a pocket knife and then having it taken away a second time for doing something stupid with it, it created this like insane desire to have a pocket. When you're a kid and you're told no, you can't have this. You're not ready for this. No, you can't. It creates this burning desire to have that thing. And I think in a lot of ways, that actually created the start of my obsession with pocket knives. Because as far as I can remember, from that point forward, I was obsessed with pocket knives. My friends started getting them, and I remember, not at school, but talking with my friends about their knives or going over to their house and seeing their pocket knives. And some of my friends had like 50 pocket knives. I only ever had this one until I was much older. I'm 14, 15 was the next time I had another pocket knife. And they were all junk. I was just collecting crap. Well, it wasn't until I was in high school that this other plate just fell off the other side. And that is somewhere at my house. I cannot figure out exactly where it is, but I know I have it somewhere. But everything else remained functional and intact despite it being, rusty. And I mean, if this knife truly is from the late 40s, holy cow. I think it served its purpose. I think I can retire that knife. But the point of this is I had many other pocket knives from age 14 until I bought that Blur that I always talk about, the Kershaw Blur that I bought when I was in my early 20s. And I broke a lot of those knives doing the same dumb stuff that I was doing with this one. That was my first inclination that, is that the right word? Am I even using it? Sometimes I talk and I don't even listen to what I'm saying. That was my first hint, I guess, that not all knives are created equal. Because the most damage that I ever did to this thing, and believe me, to this day, I cannot remember exactly what I did to chip that, but I know it was me, because it wasn't like that when I got it. That is all that happened to that blade after all these years of just doing stupid stuff with this thing. And I broke 2 or 3 other pocket knives outside. I mean, given they were really cheap, plastic handled, not made in the USA knives, I broke them. Or the blade snapped, or the lock snapped, or the scales broke, or whatever. And so I remember thinking, like, why is this super old knife lasting so long and these newer knives aren't? Well, this one was made in the United States. I imagine it's some sort of high-end steel, but it was probably partially handmade. I'm sure that there was a factory process with this, but a lot more attention to detail went into the production of this knife than a lot of the cheaper knives that I was handling when I was younger. And so as I got older, I always remembered that hey, that knife is made in a way or made out of something that made it tougher than other things. And so I slowly discovered, steels are more or less premium, or eventually, learning more and more, have properties that are more intended for this purpose or that purpose. Then comes in, what came into play was toughness and edge retention and corrosion resistance and abrasion resistance and all that stuff. And then here I am today with a YouTube channel talking about all of this, but this is the knife that started all of that. Truthfully, this is the knife that was the origin of all this, and I think it's very important. There was a part of me that wanted to restore this knife as soon as I picked it back up the other day, and I thought, I could probably pay to have this blade reprofiled and have all of this buffed out and polished, and I could make it this beautiful thing, and then I could give it to my son. And there is a small part of me that wants to do that, but I don't think that's what I'm going to do. I honestly think that this knife has it's done its duty. It's just like it has been put through the worst of the worst by 3 people who probably didn't love it enough to care about maintaining it, and we just went out and we just beat on it. But it survived. Somehow, this knife lived through all of that. I think it's time to just retire it. So I don't know exactly what I plan to give my son, but it'll be something different, my own choice, and it'll be something that hopefully will last. It'll survive me. It'll survive him abusing it as kids do with pocket knives usually. But hopefully it's something that I can give him that will allow me to explain, the function of a pocket knife, that it is a tool like my dad told me it was, and not to be used for anything else. That's truly what I believe. And it'll be the right size. It's one of those things where it actually brings me joy to find what I think is exactly the right pocket knife for somebody who is asking for my opinion on a pocket knife. That's what I want to do. So anyways, I just wanted to do this. I wanted to talk about this, talk about what this knife meant to me, the story behind it, and all of that. I hope you guys found this entertaining. That is truthfully all I know about this knife. I don't know what steel grade this is. This is obviously wood. I don't know if this is a nickel or a steel bolster or what it is. I have no idea. This is what a pocket knife looks like after 3 people abusing it for over 60 years. I think, again, somebody tell me if this knife isn't as old as I think it is, but it looks to be very old. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do of course have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or do not like. So please check that stuff out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.